Hey everyone, it's Connie here. So I guess this video is going to be part 2 of the video that I did previous about our issues and problem with Pastor Rick and Saddleback Church. And I just want to tell you first off by saying that we are really, really heartbroken. I am, especially because when I started going there, I really did appreciate Pastor Rick. I respected Pastor Rick. I thought Saddleback was a great church. And just like any relationship, as you get to know somebody, you're either going to want to continue with that relationship or you're not. And you come to that decision by spending time with that person, by hearing what they have to say, etc. Okay? So a lot has happened and transpired since the time that I made that video. We met with a staff member for coffee to talk about the issues that we were having, and we pleaded with that person to try to get a meeting with Pastor Rick, a personal meeting, and that person said that they would try, only to later come back to tell us that they didn't think it was going to be a good idea and that we should email Pastor Rick directly. John and I wrote a long email pouring our hearts out to Pastor Rick in this email, and we just basically asked him to explain himself. What does he stand for? What does he truly stand for? And the grave mistake that we felt like he did with the way he presented the gospel. It was just, and giving the impression to people that we have the same beliefs as the Roman Catholic Church. And this is so untrue. This is completely false. And, Pastor Rick didn't say that straight out, that, these are the doctrines and we believe the same things. But that's the impression that he gave in the interview. And that's the thing that we had an issue with, was this almost sort of misleading type of information that can confuse people. The Roman Catholic doctrine is diametrically opposite of what we as Protestant evangelical Christians believe. Diametrically opposed, okay? It's like night and day. And the interview that Pastor Rick did not express that. He watered it down. He watered down the gospel. He compromised the gospel. And in our email to him, we just asked him, please explain yourself. Please let us know where you stand. And we got an auto reply back saying that, I'm very busy or something, and, my staff members will get back to you as soon as possible. So till this day, it's been more than a week. We have not gotten a reply on that email that we sent where we poured our hearts out. And so John and I, we still weren't ready to leave the church because we had made friends and, all of this. And we were sad, and we made the determination in our hearts that we really had to express to Pastor Rick. We had to talk to him, so we tried to catch him after service the last 2 Sundays. However, the last 2 Sundays, they were guest speakers, so he wasn't even there. So this past Sunday, we did manage to grab the associate pastor who gave the sermon for that Sunday. And because there were a lot of people around, we tried to express to him that we had something heavy in our hearts that we really needed to tell Pastor Rick. And we didn't get into much detail because it was just, how pastors come out and they shake hands with people and there's a lot of people, it's very noisy. It wasn't the right time to really express the details. So we didn't go into the details, but we told him this was urgent, that we really had to talk to him or Pastor Rick. And he said, Pastor Rick, that you're just not going to be able to talk to him. And then he was telling us, guys, there's a lot of other churches out there where you have direct access to your pastor, and it sounds like that's what you need. There's many wonderful churches out there, and basically he was shooing us away. Okay? And that's when I started to kind of shut down. And the conversation we just said, look, just please try to reply to us somehow. Can we meet with you? And he said no, because he's really busy during this Christmas season. And that we would have to wait till after the 1st of January to meet with him. And of course, that wasn't going to fly either, because John and I, we have to make a decision. And he didn't get how important it was. He didn't get how heavy our hearts were. And it was almost like we were talking to a wall. And I in my mind, I was shutting down, because it became very clear to me that the so-called shepherds of this church they don't care about shepherding its people, their people. And as pastors, as Christian leaders, that's what they do. They shepherd the people. And this is basically not that type of a church. It's a church that will want to just grow the church. It's all about just turning it into a bigger church, a mega church, and it's not really about saving souls. It's not really about preaching the gospel. This is something that we noticed, that Pastor Rick does not really preach the gospel. His sermons don't convict. His sermons are more about self-improvement. Okay, it was more almost like sort of, I don't know, it was more like a self-improvement seminar with the word Jesus thrown in from time to time. You know what I mean? And so that's what we were finding. And the other thing that we came to find about Pastor Rick is that it's not about his doctrine and whether he is doctrinally sound. He knows what our doctrine is. The problem comes when he's in different situations. So with us, he knows the doctrine. He'll tell us this is what he believes. But when he's with people that don't believe the same way that we do, he waters it down. He compromises. He makes things fuzzy. And exactly what he did on the interview with the Catholic News Service. If you didn't see it, I'll link it below. But that's exactly what he did, was that he made it fuzzy. He made it seem like Roman Catholics and Christian Protestants think the same way, or have the same beliefs, and that's totally false. And so it's what he's doing with different people. It's what he conveys to certain people in certain situations. You know what I mean? And it's like, more than anything, I thought that I lost trust in Pastor Rick, but it's more that I lost respect in Pastor Rick. I couldn't respect him as a man of God. I couldn't respect him as a Christian leader. I couldn't respect him as a pastor of a church who's supposed to shepherd his people. I could not respect him as a man who would stand up for the truth and stand up for the gospel. I couldn't respect him as somebody who loves truth enough that he would preach the gospel and the true gospel, which is offensive. And I couldn't respect him. In fact, I doubt the Pope would even invite Pastor Rick if he was really, truly preaching the gospel and stood by the gospel. He wouldn't even be invited. And, I know these are really harsh things to say, but it's the truth. I don't condemn Pastor Rick. I am going to pray for Pastor Rick, and I'm going to pray for all the members of that church. I pray that they will be convicted in the Holy Spirit, that they will open their eyes and come to love the truth. So in determining whether we wanted to leave, and after doing tons of research on Pastor Rick and watching all kinds of videos, everything. I watched his interview with John Piper where he talked about doctrine. I had a Christian brother send me a documentary on the emergent church and all of that, and I truly did not want to make my decision based on what people told me. I made my decision well, John and I, my husband and I were together in this decision, and it was not easy. There were, a lot of arguments, but I wanted to make my decision based on what God had put into my heart, what Holy Spirit was telling me. And the Spirit in me was saying, this is just not the church for you, and we've come to realize things about us, ourselves, what we need in a church, what we need in a pastor. We want to be in a church where it's not about pleasing the seeker and making them feel good, but it's really about convicting our hearts with the truth, with biblical truths, and to find a pastor who loves truth so much that he would be willing to preach it, even if that meant offending people, because the truth is offensive, let's face it. So that's what happened. The associate pastor did write us an email, because we forwarded the email to him that we wrote to Pastor Rick, and he basically just wrote back to us, defending Pastor Rick, defending the church, defending, that he's biblically sound, blah, blah, and yeah, so that's it. I don't know what else to tell you guys, but it was a very difficult decision. It was not something that was easy. We didn't want to just up and leave, because that would have been the easy thing to do. We tried our best to get a meeting with Pastor Rick. We tried our best to get our message through the tearful email that we sent to him. We tried to meet with the staff member. We tried to meet with the associate pastor, and I think that God has really given us a conviction in our hearts of what we needed to do, and so that's the decision that we came to for leaving Saddleback. But Merry Christmas to all of you guys. I'm praying for all of you, and keep close to God. Keep close to Him. Draw close, and He will draw close to you. God bless you guys, and thanks for listening. Bye.